I was thinking that I'd really like to hear what Owen Wilson would be like if he was Loki. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I had to do it.
Owen Wilson as Loki. Hang on. I can, and I will. No, it's not this simpler. Like, is this not your natural state? It's the unspoken truth of humanity that you crave subjugation. So.
Thank you.
My pleasure. For God's sake, just kneel. I'm Loki of Asgard. I'm burdened with glorious purpose. That's all. It's.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel. It is Sunday night. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you all. I hope you've had a great and fantastic day. We are joined by my amazing panelist, Jayne Theory. How are you, Jayne?
Hello. I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here.
Yay, I'm so happy that you're here. Don't you have something that you say before you start shows?
Hey, guys.
Oh, yay, there it is.
Say the line, Bart. I didn't do it.
Yay! And we're also joined by my good Canadian friend, Script Doctor. How are you, Script Doctor?
I'm doing great on this Father's Day. How is everyone else doing out there in the chat listening and not here on the panel?
I'm doing good. And we had a 10 or 100 Krona super chat from Tarmanel before the stream started saying, I'm not catching up live. So at least a small contribution for the channel of definitely not vampiress and quotes. Thanks for the job. Thank you so much for that super chat. That is hilarious and gets things rolling. And we had Miss Teresa Martin stop by and drop us a rose. She's on vacation, so she won't be joining us this evening. But that's why we have Script Doctor. And Scott is celebrating Father's Day, so he won't be here either. But we got a good panel. Script, tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter right now at ScriptDoctorPhD. I do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/ScriptDoctor, where I do reviews and analyses of film and television shows. And on Twitter, that's the only social media I really have. And wherever I'm popping up, I'll usually retweet. So you can find me.
I did put Script Doctor's Twitter and his small YouTube channel that he doesn't upload content on in the description. But
I can upload content. I'm writing 3 feature screenplays right now. This is my break.
Oh my gosh. He's actually working, doing script writing. That is what Loki needs right now. Needs some help, I feel like.
I would agree.
Jayne, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me here on YouTube where I post movie and television reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jayne Theory.
Yay! Jayne Theory's, I believe her Twitter and her channel is in the description as well. So please subscribe to wonderful people. And we got a lot of people here. Man Squatch's here, Darren's here, Darth Side, everyone. Tina, I saw Tina, Grumpy Old Ninja, Shane, yes, everyone. So thank you everyone for being here. Please smash the like, share the stream, tell everyone we're talking about Loki, although not many people are watching the show, I bet. But yeah, so let's start with initial thoughts. Jayne, initial thoughts.
My initial thought is that it's not as bad as the first episode, but there were some issues with it. Like, again, we have a ton of exposition. We have some things that don't make sense in terms of his powers and the powers of his alternate or variant Loki, whatever. And then I think really the thing I enjoyed the most, frankly, was the ending, like the last scene.
Me
so
too.
yeah, those are my thoughts. Maybe it's getting better. I don't know.
Script, what about you? Any initial thoughts?
Well, it's just further reinforces my statement that writing time travel is hard, and you shouldn't do it unless you actually know what it is you're doing. And this show has a lot of issues with that, mainly contradictions. Now, I do know that there are some people who have issues with that whole from the previous episode. I just want to quickly touch on with regards to the Infinity Stones.
Oh yes, Script Doctor and I, just context for everybody, we got into a bit of a debate.
It was a debate because there's no animosity.
There was no animosity. There's never any animosity with us, especially because we're Canadian and we're super nice. So it's like that doesn't happen. But like we did have like a back and forth on Twitter. That's why I invited him, because I was like, I don't agree with anything you're saying. So please come on the show and explain yourself. So please go ahead.
Certainly. So, I mean, a lot of people are upset that yes, the Infinity Stones are treated by the TVA as basically inconsequential trinkets that are left in drawers or used as paperweights. That is only inferred as a slap to the fans by people who don't understand what is actually that scene actually means. And that's not to say a person's like stupid or ignorant or anything of that nature. It's just that you've been conditioned to think this way because of a lot of bad media that has come out over the last 5 to 10 years. What this scene is establishing is that the TVA is a far superior power. So the last thing you want in a franchise, especially with something like Marvel, is for your Infinity Stones to be the be-all and end-all of ultimate power in the universe. After the Avengers have defeated Thanos and the Infinity Stones, anything that came after that is not as powerful or more powerful is not going to have the same level of stakes, not going to have the same threat, not going to have the same urgency. So what this scene is establishing is that, yes, these Infinity Stones are still powerful, but compared to the TVA, they are very, very much like a pedestrian level thing. And that doesn't take away or diminish what the Avengers achieved. It just means that this next battle that's on their hands, particularly for Loki, is far more dangerous, has far more stakes, is far more escalation than the Infinity Stones. And they do this in two ways. First second technically with this scene, but prior to this scene, they have these 3 time beings that are so powerful they were able to bridge together all the multiverses into one superior timeline. Now, that is actually far more powerful than what the Infinity Stones can do. So that is your first step. Your second step is to reinforce that by saying the Infinity Stones here, they're not as powerful and we don't take them too seriously because we can literally control the shape of the universe in any way or form. By comparison to a mortal, yes, they are very powerful and very dangerous, but we are beyond mortals. It's kind of like saying an individual with a Smith & Wesson 6-shooter pistol is very powerful on their own. But when facing someone who is operating a tank, they mean nothing. So that's basically that's the comparison they're trying to do here. Now,
well, unless you climb on top of the tank, open the tank door, and shoot the guy riding the tank.
Which is a very difficult task to still do.
True. It's true.
Because again, those things lock from the inside. And
that's true. That's true. They do.
But that's basically the basic comparison that they were trying to go for here. I don't find it personally too effective because again, they do present some of the office workers in the TVA as kind of incompetent or at least ignorant in some way. So you kind of have like this catch-22 going on here. Where it's like, yes, these are very powerful people, but they should not be this incompetent, especially when it comes to a Loki, especially when it comes to knowledge of things. like fish. I mean, and there's also the fact that everything kind of is directly focused on Earth, and they don't really address other planets, other species, other galaxies. So it's there's a lot missing from this.
It's
Well-
the weird. I'm sorry. The weird part for me about what you're saying though is that these three like crazy beings that are time whatever situation, the lizard things,
Sure.
they didn't think that an alien creature named Thanos snapping his fingers and getting rid of half the population of the universe was a big deal and was actually part of the timeline and didn't need to be remedied in any way. So like that to me is bothersome on a
No,
lot of
that's a
levels.
fair point, but because that comes down to how well they care about or treat actual beings within their timeline. It's more important that that event happened as opposed to the people that it affected, and that's kind of like the through line of what's going on in this poorly established set of rules for the time TVA and the timeline. Is that yes, they're like, oh, it's destined to happen that half the universe is wiped away because the Time Lords decide this is a good thing, and then we're just going to bring them back 5 years later. It's kind of like the actions that if you want to draw through a parallel with regards to religions, like God has a plan, that's why bad things happen. It's like, okay, it's weak, but I mean, come on. And then conversely, it goes down to the whole, which is actually addressed in this episode, where Loki points out there's essentially no free will because everything is preordained by the time lizards. But at the same time, if that's the case, how do variants exist? Because again, if they dictate everything, variants could never exist because again, there would be no free will. So now we have an incongruity, and it just breaks the own rules that are being established, which part of me suspects that the big reveal at the end of this is that there are no time lizards or anything of that nature. It's all the TVA, and this is all just a
See,
giant
I thought
lie.
it was gonna be Loki. Like I thought the three lizards are gonna be Loki, and that he made the TVA.
That
like
could also be a
future
cold
Loki.
case. Yeah, that could
So
also
So
be
are
the
they
case.
all
yeah.
an illusion? Because that's one of the things they hint at is that they were created, right? So by
Mhm.
whatever these things are, which goes back to the question of why are they incompetent?
Yeah, Nikki D has a great
Especially,
question here. Yeah.
especially in the case where they have dealt. This also suggests through this episode that they've gone through this before with other variants of Loki.
Yes.
So they should all be better prepared.
Yeah, and Nikki D, that's a great point. And I
Yep.
thought the same thing when I saw this scene. I was like, why doesn't he just, stuff a bunch of stones in his pocket, and then when he goes out into the world, he can just, F around.
If he gets out of this TVA and goes back into normal reality, he could do what he wanted. But
yeah.
also part of
Could
Loki's
he?
character, could possibly, but also part of Loki's character, and we see this in example of the first 10 or first 20 Marvel films, is that Loki desires the highest form of power. So within Thor and the Dark World, he wants to rule Asgard. After that, he wants to rule Earth by way of Infinity Stone, and after that, he wants more Infinity Stones in like Thor Ragnarok and all that stuff of that nature, or something of that nature. Now that he realizes the Infinity Stones are not the ultimate power, there's now the TVA. He wants the TVA, and if there's something that comes later that is more powerful than TVA, Loki's going to want that as well because he lusts for the ultimate power.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
that's where you have that weird balance, right? So yes, he could totally take the Infinity Stones, and if he was able to go back into his own reality, he probably would have the means to use them to either wipe out the TVA or create his own TVA if he wanted to. I mean, but again, within the confines of normal space-time, the Infinity Stones have not lost any power. They're still incredibly dangerous. But it's
Are
a
they?
very weird. Oh yeah. There's been no establishment saying that the Infinity Stones are less powerful now. It's just that there's a more powerful entity over top of them. So,
but I mean, if this entity can just sort of snap their fingers and reverse it all.
yeah, pretty much.
Mhm. That's what I have a problem with, because that means they didn't give a shit about Thanos doing what he did, and everything that we watched is basically BS because no one cares. Like it was just
Well,
like it
because
doesn't matter.
Well, basically it's the higher powers don't care, and that's kind of true of reality. It's like if there is a god, it's clearly not involved enough with our lives to care about our own suffering to any degree, or at least it has a higher meaning for why we go through that, right?
But as a viewer, right?
Sure.
That spent all this time watching these movies to get to the ultimate enemy, to get to the end, right? Like, and then you see everything and it's like, oh, it was all meaningless. It's like, it doesn't make you feel very good. You're just
was
like,
it
okay,
really?
well, was it all worth then?
But was it really all meaningless? I mean, that's the question you have to ask, is like, it was still an insurmountable challenge for the characters. They still had sacrifice. They still achieved a goal. That hasn't gone away.
But it kind of has, though. I feel like it has.
Okay, but how? Because that's an
I feel like it's been diminished. Yeah,
it's been diminished. It's like as if it didn't matter. It did not matter. It could have not happened, and it would have still been the same. Like it
but that's
wouldn't
true with
have
any story.
mattered.
That's true with any story, anyways. Like, it's either made or it isn't.
But within the context of this story, it's like now they've expanded it to include this additional context, which suggests that it was a chosen ending as opposed to one that the characters fought for. Like, it was a predetermined thing and nothing they did mattered.
And in fact, they were saying the only reason that the Avengers were even formed, at least what they were hinting at in the first episode, was that it was Loki and his bullshit that he did led them to become the Avengers, which again diminishes what the Avengers, the totality of what they overcame to come together and do all this stuff, because really in the end it nothing mattered.
How can it matter if you don't have free will?
Exactly.
But there's the conflict, right? Variants can exist without a form of free will. Because again, you have to deliberately go. Yeah, if they say you are supposed to be at work on this time and you are late, that is a variant. But the thing is, like, the only way that could happen is if you have a form of free will where something either obstructs you or you choose not to be on time. And because again, the variant is that you've gone off the path, but if there's no free will, then you could never go off the path, because that would mean that there was
so that's a crock of shit then, because
exactly.
when people use their free will, the gods, the lizard beings or whatever, are like, no, don't use your free will. You're gonna go back to this path that we've chosen for you.
Exactly.
So
it's basically you have like these two conflicting ideas. One is saying like the time lizards have planned out everything for every single person's actions, yet for some reason a person can get off track, which means that they can't actually plan to every single actions. Which again, it's a terrible thing to set up with your time traveling thing. If they said we have one perfect timeline where key points are supposed to hit, and only the only way we can make sure those key points are hit is if we manipulate people in order to go to them, which means that you still have the free will, but now you've got to put certain things in place in order to make those outcomes happen. That's a bit more broad. That doesn't diminish like actions with regards to characters or events. But at the same time, you also have to remember that this is also a very meta approach with regards to the story, which basically means, like, me as a writer, my characters don't have free will. They're going to do what I want them to do. I just have to make sure that the characters' motivations fall in line with what I want the outcome to be.
Isn't that really lazy, though?
No, that's part of writing. But like, to do that, to actually break the fourth wall, essentially what the show has done, and actually tell the audience that's kind of lazy.
And
because
then
again, like, when you write a story, like, for instance, if you want to write Star Wars, Lucas has to write that knowing that Luke Skywalker is going to blow up the Death Star at the end. That is an unchangeable aspect. That's basically no free will for that character. That is his destiny. So again, does that make Star Wars meaningless? No, it's not, because those events are still in play. The relationships to the characters are still important. The goals are still important. The obstacles and the lessons learned are still important, and that still holds true. That doesn't go away. But what we have here with the TVA is saying that, yeah,
but it kind of did go away, though, script, because in the sequel trilogy, you had, like, quote unquote Palpatine come back, and then they were like, oh, well, nothing they did mattered. So that diminished what Luke Skywalker went through. And that's exactly why Star Wars is suffering right now, because they basically retcon their own story, and they diminish the entire hero's journey to be like that. None of that mattered. It didn't matter that Vader sacrificed himself and what became Anakin again. None of that freaking mattered.
Well, that's if you
So-
choose to accept those sequels as part of the actual franchise. I mean, people ignore Highlander 2, people ignore other James Bond films, and people ignore other entries into other franchises because, again, they don't.
But ignoring it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I mean,
That's true.
That's quote unquote canon right now. Like that is the universe that they exist in, and we're supposed to believe that. I for one
if
don't
you believe what the people who own the property say, yeah. But the fact of the matter is that you can compartmentalize those aspects. So if you were to never see the sequel trilogy, the original trilogy would still hold true. If you were to see it, you'd be like, it's basically someone saying, yeah, everything you thought is wrong. It's like, well, yeah, but you are a different company that's making this stuff. That's not the original people who made it. So who the hell are you? Right. But in this case here, it's basically saying that it's basically pulling the curtain to reveal the Wizard of Oz, so to speak. It's like, yes, everything that they did, everything that they experienced, it happened. It still had its meaning and stuff. But just because we planned it doesn't mean that from the perspective of those characters, it's meaningless. And that's the kind of thing you have to realize with storytelling, is that we as an audience can feel like it's kind of usurping something. But again, those are you going to deny the feelings that those movies made prior to this moment? Like they were there. They happened.
Well, I have for me personally, I have a few questions. There's still so many questions about what's going on with Loki. For one thing, I still don't think the Soul Stone was actually in the drawer, and I don't like they didn't show it, so I don't know what's going on with that. Is there only one Soul Stone? Like I don't understand what's going on with that.
I don't even understand why there's multiple Infinity Stones anyways, if there's only one perfect timeline.
Exactly. Like, so are they taking them from these variant timelines and sticking them into the drawer? What constitutes a variant timeline where what happened that they had to go and grab these stones from Thanos or whoever else had them? Like there's just so many things that doesn't really kind of make sense about it.
Yeah, like they're pulling people out, but then they're also resetting locations. And the reset of location is a disintegration, which somehow allows the timeline to heal itself. Like it's new ideas that don't fit in line with the premise. And so as a result, we are very confused as an audience. And they try to just, brush away by like, okay, here's a simple explanation of what this is, but it's really more complicated than that. And it's just really poor understanding of the concept and not really sticking to the rules or even properly defining the rules of what's going on.
And we had Nikki D with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Says the TVA could be an elaborate ruse, but it doesn't explain how uncharacteristically incompetent Loki behaves at times. And this I wholeheartedly agree with. And we're going to get into this, Nikki. So I hope you stick around because we're going to start breaking down this episode. Jayne, any responses to what Script Doctor has to say before we start breaking this, what I like to call shit show down? Because I still think it's a shit show.
I couldn't agree more. I'm ready to get to break down this episode because there's so much in here that's just ridiculous.
Yes.
Still better.
It is. Yeah, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. Awesome one though made a funny comment. It's variant stones.
I think so.
That sounds like that's what they are. So we begin the adventure in what was it? 1985.
1985 Renaissance Fair.
In some sort of Renaissance fair, where people are just mingling, having fun, and then the time variant people are there. Their costumes really needed help, in my opinion. Like, I'm not feeling this costume at all on any level. Like, I'm like, what is this?
I would think they would blend in with wherever they're going. Like, wouldn't
you
that
think
make
their
more
presence
sense?
would start to have a thread of time variance occur as a result, right?
Well, they don't care though because they blank out the variant or like the timeline, right? Because they're like, oh, whatever, we're here. Everyone's gonna. And
is that their intention everywhere they go though?
Pretty much. And they said
Yeah.
they basically genocide people because they like kill everybody. They like, get rid of everybody that's there.
Yeah, they haven't really elaborated on the rules of this. And the other part too is like if they're just going to put down the reset bomb, why even bother searching around for to investigate anything? It's like, well, we just hit a couple of reset bombs that covers the larger area, and then we just go back home. There's no point for any of the rest of this stuff when they have these tools that essentially are something they're going to do anyways.
Yes. And also, like, I still don't understand, like, what's even the point of if there's a crime or whatever, why don't they just go back to before the crime happened, and then they can see what happened? Because they have access to the timeline. So here there's weird spirit Loki or whatever the hell it is. Goes inside this lady, starts killing everybody. I mean, at first I was like, oh, action, you guys. Like, it started out like with something like, oh, okay. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And of course, Shadow Loki, which, spoilers, everybody, like, turns out to be Lady Loki in the end, pulls this diversity hire agent into the portal, and that's the beginning of it. Thoughts on the beginning scene, Lady Loki?
Pointless a little. I mean, it's really just to establish that this other Loki is stealing reset charges, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
That they were,
Basically.
The next scene's even more pointless, where he's reading about jet skis and having a conversation with this weird Fallout looking dude.
It's Tara Strong doing the
It was
voice.
so stupid because it just they're like trying. This is the thing that I have a problem with. Like, I like a balance, right? Like, I don't like Zack Snyder's DC universe because it's so dark, and you're like, okay, could we get like a little bit of soul in here, like a little bit of color or whatever. And then you have Marvel, which was fantastic for the first few years that they started. So many good movies, so much balance. Like, there was Lost, there was there's things that you can gravitate towards, and it was bright and colorful and nice. And then now you have this weird Marvel universe where it's constantly like joke, and this. Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, what am I watching right now? Loki in some sort of weird cubicle office talking to like this weird computer program, talking about jet skis. Like, I was like, what? Like, what's happening right now?
I don't understand how they would be desiring these sorts of things if they were created with a particular purpose. I mean, is he becoming a variant?
He is a variant.
Well, is Mobius also a variant?
Mobius.
Oh, Mobius.
Because that's his jet ski magazine.
Right.
Maybe. I thought he was made, because didn't they make
Exactly,
comments
that's
about
my
it? Because
point.
they said
all
he was
made.
made.
So he shouldn't have these desires, I wouldn't think. That's outside of his job description or whatever. So maybe the Time Lords will cut him out at some point. I don't know. There aren't enough episodes to flesh this out. I don't know where they're going with it.
Yeah, there's only 4 left after this, right?
Yep. Shane says jet skis are very useful in timeless space.
Exactly. They don't get vacation time, I don't think.
Hey, Agent One, good to see you, man. But yeah, so much talking in this episode, and then of course they had to belittle Loki again, giving him this. They had
Take
to
him
take
down a
the
notch.
time. Yeah, take the time again to just make him an absolute pathetic loser. He's got a variant jacket. I mean, and it's just, I was like, what the hell's going on?
It's a very poor way to try and humble Loki.
Yeah. By, once again, diversity hire, quote unquote, lead actress here.
She keeps failing. That's the other part too. How are we supposed to like her when she's bad at her job?
She's terrible at her job. Then they show like these different Lokis. They're like, look how many Lokis there are. There are all these different variants, and they shapeshift and they do this and they do that. And it's literally like, I don't know how long is this? Seriously, like I'm just keep scrolling here. And then
it's
finally
a
he's like,
couple
I
minutes.
think I know where he is. Let's go this way.
But here's the other part too. Is like we have this big question: where did those variants come from? If there's only one timeline,
Yeah. It's all
it
these
just
different
doesn't make
Lokis.
sense.
They come from the different timelines, but then they're variants. So they
But all those
how am I supposed
timelines were woven into one perfect timeline. Like again, this is why you don't get a green writer to write time travel.
this doesn't
stuff.
make sense.
No, it does not.
I'm confused. Like, and that's
guess-
the other thing too, is that
Okay,
like
so
if they had
they-
shown all these Lokis in prison or something, like in the thing, I'd be like, okay, so they took them from the different timelines and they stuck them in jail. But we
But
haven't
they don't
really
put them in
seen
prison though. They delete them, right?
Oh yeah, they delete them. They like zap them and then they vanish.
For
And I
no
don't
reason.
understand the concept of hiding. Even if you're entering into a space that's about to be destroyed, right?
Mm.
What do you mean hiding there? Like
We haven't
you can
gotten there.
only-
We haven't gotten there, Jane.
Oh, okay. I'm
Hold your horses, Jane. We're still like we're still getting there. They're coming to investigate this attack that happened by this other Loki, and God, this took
Oh yeah,
forever.
we're still stuck in the boring part. Okay,
Yeah,
never
we're
mind.
still in the boring part with diversity hire trying to belittle Loki again and basically telling everyone that she doesn't trust him and he sucks and he's a man and oh my God, it goes on and on and on. And he's trying to like convince this dude of something. I forget what it was.
Oh,
but
he's just trying to see what happens once the timeline breaks. Because again, there's no multiverse yet. There's only one universe because they're all woven together in the perfect timeline.
right. So yeah, and then they notice this lady's missing from the other team. They're like, oh my God, she's gone. And then we keep getting these shots of these statues. I still think that this is probably Loki. I don't know. I think
It
they're
could
gonna
be a
go
Loki or a
meta with
facade,
it.
Yeah. Could be.
It's Loki all along. Somebody did the song there. Like
It
with
was
the,
three
it was
Lokis
Agatha all along. They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, it was Loki all
Well,
along.
maybe I think maybe these are the three Lokis. You got him, you got her, and then there's one more. There have to be three heads of the dragon, right?
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
It's like Game of
yes.
Thrones all over again.
Oh my God, girl. This is gonna be terrible. And then you had Owen Wilson go in this chick's office and talk to her for like 20 minutes.
Being creepy again.
Well,
Being
it's either
creepy.
creepy or they had a relationship before.
It's still cringe. She looks like she could be his daughter.
Well,
Does
that's
she? I
Owen
don't
Wilson
know
for
about
you.
that.
He's old.
But
Creepy.
I still thought that she was putting him down a lot too. Like it was like just all
Wouldn't you? He won't stop. Everything he says is like has some sexual undertone to it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it just looks to me like they're just trying to diminish the men and then being like the women are all like the bestest ever and like nobody has any time for anybody. And
If
it's
they're the
just all
bestest ever, they wouldn't be in this problem. Just saying.
Tina's saying it was Kang all along.
Kang would have been a way better choice for this type of story than.
We'll see.
It's just a
Everybody's.
terrible idea.
I honestly don't even know who this Kang person is, but I guess
He's
we'll
a
find out.
descendant of the Richards family, and he goes back and messes with time and the Avengers.
Oh, okay. So
He's
that's
he's very dangerous, far more dangerous than Thanos.
Oh wow. Okay. So maybe it is Kang all along. I highly doubt it though because everybody thought like Mephisto was going to show up in WandaVision and that never happened. So lady, powerful black woman. Wait, is she black or is she
Looks
mixed?
biracial.
Yeah. Sorry, biracial lady. We have to actually make a note of that. Apparently, that's important. Tells him like, yeah, you go get him, but you better be careful. And he's just like chasing after him like a dog, like whatever, because it's Loki, freaking god of mischief, but he's nothing now. They talk and talk some more and talk again and do more talking and some more talking. And then they go to the library where they do more talking. And also, Loki starts to read some stuff about some stuff. Oh,
Well,
this whole scene.
he's trying to research what the other variant has been doing.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
whole scene though with the bell, I was like, seriously, like they think this is funny. Like this wasn't funny.
Well,
Like, I
this
was
is
just-
your first step towards trying to get to a Rick and Morty-ish style of comedy. It just doesn't have the depth or inventiveness of that because, again, it's from a writer who only casually worked on the show and thought he could write at that level. And
I think it did hint at that he has his ulterior motive for what he's doing, and something he says later they're sort of showing now in terms of his research isn't just the other Lokis, it's also into these timekeeper things.
Mhm.
yep,
Well, he's been looking into the timekeepers the entire episode, which was an interesting side note. Though they did make him a little bitch again by making him cry. Oh my god, Asgard got destroyed. Even though I'm Loki and I
you'll
don't
never
really
rule it now.
comment on VHS
But
for
at the same
$2.
time, he also says at some point, "Oh, Asgard was like that's sad," and he moves on. So I'm confused as to how he feels about it.
He feels what we see in this scene, Jane, because he's crying to himself, and then he pretends it's like nothing later. I think. I don't know,
I don't know.
but who knows? Comment on VHS for $2. Thank you so much. Says Loki really making me lose my love for Marvel. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I don't know what to say. My love for Marvel kind of started getting diminished right after Endgame because I was like, ugh, this was bad. Wow, I guess Captain Marvel started the process.
Oh, mine
That
was
was
after
for
the first
me.
Avengers film, and like Winter Soldier kind of brought me back a little, but after that, yeah, wasn't as excited for those films anymore.
Captain Marvel just really. Ugh.
That's what did it for me.
Yeah, so he cries because Loki's a crier. This is like the second episode where we're seeing him be very just I don't know.
Emotion.
Dude, this is Loki, man. He's not supposed to be like this. Grow a pair, dude. Then he goes to this dude, talks again for God knows how long, tries to explain to him in this really weird, silly, whatever way that this is where things that you were talking about, Jane, that the Loki is hiding in places that are going to get destroyed no matter what, like like an asteroid or some sort of cataclysmic event that's going to wipe out time anyways, or like that area. Therefore they can go and do whatever the hell they want right before that event occurs, and it wouldn't register on the timeline for the TVA.
Yeah, short of preventing the disaster itself, yes, they found a blind spot in their monitoring system.
Stieg is here and says they made a god emo. That's exactly what they did. That's 100% what happened. He became emo.
That always helps. Every person who has ever gone to emo has always had their life improved as a result of it. It's just a byproduct of emo.
Oh my god. Let's see. Lord Vader says, I don't really mind the talking because some of the dialogue was interesting, but there doesn't have to be a constant action. I agree with you because I don't mind a lot of dialogue either, usually, but I feel like the dialogue was not great. Like it was boring. It dragged on. And then also where they have the dialogue, like they tried to do one scene with the library, which was like, oh, okay, they're kind of taking like that. I felt like they were taking that scene out of prequels in Star Wars out where Kenobi goes to the library to look for the clone
lost
planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they literally had like the kind of same interaction with the librarian. Like the prequel one was funnier in my opinion because she was like
an old hag.
Yeah, she was like an old hag. She was literally like every librarian I've ever come across. But in this one, it was just not as funny. It didn't land for me. I was just like, okay, whatever. And that was the only scene they did that was kind of different in a different surrounding. Every other scene was like in their cubicle and like, just these very close up shots where it's like, okay, this is a Marvel series, very prominent, very budgeted series. Why are we not on location? Why aren't things happening? Even when they go on location, they're in a freaking store. I was like, this is not cool to look at. It's not fun. What's happening?
Yeah, no jokes about Dewey Decimal Systems in a time archive. like again, it's a twinkle of a joke, and it never is anything more than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
even the bell that they're using, it's like, what kind of place is this? You have all this technology and you have like those weird little dingy bells that don't even work. Like, what is this place?
it's the fact that they don't do anything with that aesthetic. Like, it's just there to be there. I mean, even this great revelation that Loki happens in a cafeteria, and there's nothing interesting going on in the cafeterias at all that could cause Loki to interrupt his story or distract him or distract us from what's going on, because this is a pretty interesting revelation. Yes, if there's a natural disaster occurring, then you have a brief little window where you could do anything you want in that area, and it doesn't show up on their radars. Like, it's a very succinct thing to do. But
I actually I like this premise, and I was hoping, like, I feel like, okay, so here we go. This is 24 minutes in until we go to Pompeii. Okay. I feel like this entire thing could have been done in 10, and then they could have hit like maybe 2 or 3 other, what's it called?
Have other funny apocalyptic events where they're trying to find a Loki. Yeah,
exactly. Like, so that you can
like
have
the Titanic sinking.
Yeah. It's anything. There's so many different, like, when the dinosaurs are like, going extinct from I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Like, you can do so much with that. And then they did only one, and it was really stupid and really lame. And he was just like, I'm gonna set the goats free, and nothing was
like
funny.
Hiroshima a couple of minutes before the big boy hits.
There you go. Yeah.
Certain things where you could have fun. I mean, they already did one kind of funny thing. I wish they went further with in the previous episode, but like DB Cooper, the plane hijacker, is Loki. Yeah. Like, that was a kind of a funny little clever thing. Okay, yeah, we have a real life mystery. They say it's Loki. They didn't take it all the way they could because they just wanted to make it kind of an ambiguous type of joke, which disappointed me. But then again, it's again, I'm going to be trashing on the writer's writing, not so much him as an individual. I don't know him, but he's just not up to the par that's needed for these types of concepts. But no, we have this kind of fun scene where it's like, okay, let's test the theory. Let's see if this is going to hold true. And Loki just starts speaking. I think that's supposed to be Italian, but like, I don't think the Italian language was developed at that point. So
I think he's supposed to be speaking their language at that time.
Yeah, whatever it was, because he's a god.
Latin that they're doing there, because it's.
I thought that part was actually kind of cool, that he would just immediately start speaking in their language.
And then there it goes. So see, like, after this, I think he could have gone to a different place. They don't even show them actually getting away either, which was stupid.
That was weird.
See, the funny thing that you could have done in this part is, like, yes, he does it, they discover it, and then all of a sudden the other Loki comes out and be like, and then just has to run away. He's like, oh my God, we actually found, like, it's her, it's him or whatever. And it just, this as a random chance thing, as kind of like a joke, which that the other Loki is hiding in almost every cataclysmic event. And so it's like, well, now we got to find the next one. And that's where you kind of realize that they're hiding in each one, and can take you into the climax at the shopping mall in 2050 or whatever.
Exactly. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, but this was supposed to just be an experiment. So it was like we're watching them in a laboratory. Basically.
Yeah, and that's why he went for freaking 20 minutes to this lady to get permission to even go to this one.
So we have to explain the entire thing, then we have to show you how it plays out, and then we have to actually test the theory. It's like, I didn't want this. I didn't sign up for all of this.
And then this guy was dumb the whole time, because they're here to do what they're supposed to do, which was test the theory. And he's like, you can't make any mistakes, and you can't, like, fuck with the timeline. And it's like, dude, that's what we're here to do, so that we can test the theory.
Well, here's the thing. This scene here is where Loki should be proposing the theory. He shouldn't be doing it in the cafeteria. It should be right here where he's proposing it. And that's where Owen Wilson's character is like, so that's why you begged and pleaded me and to take you here.
Mhm.
is because you think this is going to happen, and Mobius should be of the mind's like, this is wrong because it's not going to work. We're actually going to screw up. I gotta call my backup, and all of a sudden the volcano blows up. He starts saying his thing, and as he checks his phone, he's like, oh wait, nothing's happening. That's holy
Oh,
crap.
and maybe they see Loki, and then they're like, "Oh shit, there it goes!" And then like goes into the other portal, and it's like, "Oh fuck, now we gotta go chase her."
We're unprepared. Oh my god, like
Yeah.
that type of thing. You have the panic, the urgency. They rush back, and it's like, okay, we know that they're doing this now. We know this theory works. Now we got to figure out where.
But no
this most
script.
likely
They
place
wanted Loki in that scene, doing this. Pretending to jerk off, like this
Well,
salt shaker.
They needed
'cause
to
that's
fill
funny.
55 minutes, and they needed to fill 55 minutes, and so that's why we have that scene, and then we go see the follow through of it, which you really don't do in a contained time, in a contained episode of television. It's like you get to the point.
They could have filled it with so much more.
Yeah, I agree. Tina says, but more Mobius. I keep wanting to call him Morbius. Mobius wouldn't have taken him into the past in the sacred timelines.
Well, he's already been doing that anyways at this point, so there's no reason for him not to do it if not just to say humor Loki. Like the other part too is like Mobius is desperate to understand Loki and understand where to find this one. So if he proposes an idea, all we have to do is get to the premise. We don't need to hear how Loki did it. All we need to know is that he managed to get these two here at this point, and Owen Wilson's character is pretty much saying, if this goes wrong, you're dusted and I'm back at square one, and there's no harm, no foul for me. So this is really all on your life dependency, and that's where you have the battle of status right now.
But see, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I don't understand, because Mobius said it was too dangerous, but why would he care if the TVA is so powerful and they don't they're just gonna track down every Loki, and the only one that's giving them problems is this femme Loki that's gonna come up? Like, why would he even care? Now he has this Loki.
It's because
he can just fix it, right?
This character just doesn't understand it. Like what I would add for this scene is, first I'd skip out the back half of that cafeteria thing. I'd make Loki state his case here, but I have Mobius pull out the reset bomb, put it down, and have it ready to go, because as soon as something goes wrong, he can just click it and they're gone. And what we end up having is it plays out and he's realizing, oh crap, I don't have to do this. This is still going to happen. You diffuse the it's too dangerous thing, because that line is only thrown in there as basically a false obstacle for Loki to get what he wants. It's not really true. And it actually breaks a rule with writing, which is like, when it comes to defining your characters and putting them into play, you got to write them honestly. And Owen Wilson's character saying it's too dangerous to go to this apocalyptic event is clearly not honest, because again, they have the means to do a reset at any point they want.
Exactly.
And the other thing too with this scene is, why are you waiting until you get there to establish the rules? Because they know what they're there to do. He tells him to sing like a bird or something weird like that, and then Loki does his own thing. But you would think that before they got there, he would say, okay, this is what we're going to do to test the theory. This is what you're going to do. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
and
but he was all freaking out. He's like, don't you dare mess with the timeline. It's like, that's what we're here to do, dude. Like, have we not established that for 20 minutes? I'm so
That's all the time variance does, is mess with the timeline to put it back to another entity's desired outcome.
That's how the dialogue doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
In a lot of this.
Griffin's telling me that I'm questioning the continuity, and shame on me. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. My brain doesn't work like this. Okay. So then, yeah, this happens. I still think they should have shown us them actually getting away. This was a weird cut for me. Like, I was like, what?
They couldn't afford the CGI cube thing.
They couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't afford the CGI. It was weird. Then they go again to another
back
scene.
To the cafeteria.
Back to the cafeteria. Some more talking in the cafeteria.
This is where Loki presents the whole no free will thing.
Right.
Which is also a contradiction to everything that happens, because again, you can't have a variant without free will.
And his answer for the whole thing was basically, you're thinking about it too hard, or like you're simplifying it.
You're
And I was,
oversimplifying it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're oversimplifying it. And I died because I was like, of course you're gonna say that because you
Yeah, that's
have
the bad
nothing.
writer's way of trying to circumvent the
Exactly.
questioning.
You literally have no answers to give me, so you're telling me you're oversimplifying it. And it's like, okay,
Because
gotcha.
what Owen Wilson's response should be, which would probably satisfy everyone, is like, no, you have free will. There's just certain points in time that cannot be changed. And if for whatever reason you don't go, you ignore all the suggestions that are made to get you there, that's where we step in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so basically you're the grand manipulator. It's like, well, yeah, that's an oversimplification, but essentially, I mean, because then you can kind of have it both ways. You still have the free will, which is basically you're presenting situations that manipulate your choices, but you're still able to make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only when that one choice you make is not the right one that has that cascading effect that will change everything, is when the TVA comes in. And it's actually almost a similar rule too regarding the butterfly effect here in our reality, where we as a species, we are faced with as many variables as there are people on the planet, because every single person makes a choice that in some way indirectly affects us in some regard at some point in time. So
that's a
very
great
complicated
question.
system.
Awesome, Mun. Is him growing a mustache free will? Because I mean, technically, wouldn't that be free will if
Well,
you're
him
choosing
not
to
getting his
grow a
nose
mustache?
fixed is also free will.
Well, I mean, he may have been shaped into this particular form.
Yeah.
With a mustache.
Yeah. That's how he was crafted.
That's how he was crafted. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Okay, so they're talking more and more. I'm literally trying to fast forward this, and it's just more talking.
It's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking. And then he's like, oh yeah, oh my god, we had this like chocolate bar from like this other crime scene. It's probably a clue. Let's go and check it out.
So they haven't thought about that all along?
So they did. This was so
Because my first thing would have been, let's track down where this came from.
That's what I thought too. I was like, isn't that the point of collecting clues? Like you collected this clue already, but they're like, oh no, whatever. Whatever.
It's a very bad video game.
I don't know what to say. Then they find out it's from this timeline or whatever, this time period, which, by the way, they do add that was destroyed by global warming. Oh, wait, before they do that, they have to go ask this lady for permission again to go to that timeline, which she finally gives. And then they go. And then, of course, this lady shows up.
It's
and she's
basically like getting a warrant.
yes.
Like, I'm confused as to why they have to keep going back.
Well, here's the other part too, is like that lady ruins the whole plan that Owen Wilson had.
This one?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah,
because she wanted to split him and Loki up, and that was what caused her downfall.
But by what authority does she have to do that? Isn't he the investigator?
I don't understand the power structure at all.
She said the authority. She's like, "This is my thing."
But what I'm saying is,
in
like,
their
in
group.
you're gonna have to make it some way relatable to our world. I don't understand what their positions are. Like, if she's just the police, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. Then his character would be the investigator, right?
Ideally, yes.
Well, I mean,
how is she telling him what to do?
I don't know. I mean, he has a name. Like he has a designation that's different.
It's more like a military thing, though. So
okay, but
I think
that would be even worse because now you have a military investigator that the soldier is trying to control. Like that doesn't.
Or he's a civilian investigator working with the military.
Yeah,
so
I think that's what it is.
Okay,
but again, it's not clearly defined.
It's not clearly defined.
But consultant.
That doesn't. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
but I think that what it is though is that when you're on when you're on a ground and you have a mission, it's like the like in the military, it's the commander or whoever, like the general who's commanding the unit. So she automatically, if she's the leader of the unit, she tells everybody what to do. Basically, it doesn't matter.
But she's threatening the investigation if he needs Loki with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I
Because
don't
that's
think
an
they
ego
thought-
motivation as opposed to a responsible motivation.
Exactly.
So he could have put her in her place and being like, you're, messing up the investigation, lady, and I'm going to do whatever the hell I have to do, and I'll answer to whoever I have to answer later on. But he couldn't stand up to her. No. He's a white guy, and you can't, you can't stand up to a big black woman. You can't do that.
Mm-mm.
Can't do that right now.
You can
Mm-mm.
sexually harass the other one, but you can't stand up to yourself.
Yeah, that's not good. So then they make this whole point about how global warming destroyed this place. It was destroyed because of global warming, and so now they're here again. This is what I'm talking about. This is the set that they pick for their final showdown, where Lady Loki's gonna show up and blah blah blah. They go into a freaking grocery store in 2050, and it doesn't even look futuristic. It looks like a shitty rundown like
Kmart.
yeah, it's like a
Walmart. Yeah,
freaking
it's supposed to-
Kmart.
Well, department stores these days look not much different from they did 40 years ago, except for like how you pay.
This looks awful. So this is where she, puts her foot down. Oh, and this is where we see Loki finally use magic for the first time,
Yep.
and he
Dry his
dries
clothes.
himself. He blow dried himself with magic. I was like, seriously? Okay. But I did get excited at first because I was like, oh, now he can use magic. So, ooh, like, what's he gonna do? Like, is he gonna do something to get away, or is he gonna do something like with his magic powers because they're back now? Let's see. And nothing.
No.
Literally. I was like, what?
He gets beaten up by some guy named Ethan who's possessed.
Yes. He
I
literally
think it's
gets
Ethan.
he gets beaten the shit out of by literally human forms of people. Like, it's like, you're a god. Are you not going to do anything? So this is when
And this is the thing I don't understand too. You have two fully powered Lokis.
mhm,
This should have been so much more entertaining.
this should have been
Yeah.
extremely epic.
I like seeing her pass from person to person, but the fight should have been better.
Yeah,
They should-
Loki should have projected multiple versions of himself in like a circle around her, and it's basically where each projection is fighting one of the possessed people as it's bouncing from person to person to person. Like, that's a
Yes,
fun way you can do it.
exactly.
That would have been cool.
Oh, and then we also see another white guy be mean to everybody. And then Owen Wilson had to be like, why don't you leave these people alone?
They're gonna die anyways.
They're gonna die anyways. This is just an asshole for no reason. And then they find this lady, other diversity hired lady, and she tells them like, "Oh my god, I gave all the secrets away," and they know, the Loki knows where the lizard people are.
She's broken, so yeah, you have to have that repeating the same line over and over again. That doesn't have meaning until the very end of the episode, and
But how would
Right.
she know?
tired trope.
How would she know? She's just a lowly soldier.
Yeah, isn't she a lowly soldier? I thought that the other black lady was the only one that knew, because Owen Wilson said he didn't know and he never met him.
Technically, yeah, the judge is the only one that knows. Any of these grunt people shouldn't know how to get to the space
Right.
lizards.
Yeah,
So what is she talking about?
yeah, how did diversity hire lady know? I don't get it. I don't understand. Because the judge was like, "Yeah, I seen them. They're kind of upset or whatever." Like whatever she said. I don't
They
remember.
have time to be upset, predicting the future.
Yeah.
Right. The whole thing doesn't make any sense.
This whole thing
The more we
was
talk
like-
about it.
I know. The more we talk about it, I'm like, this was awful.
How come they can't just manipulate the timeline to catch this Loki?
You know what I would have liked to see is Lady Loki jump into Owen Wilson, and we actually have that scene where I played Tom pretending to be Owen Wilson, so we actually have Owen Wilson pretend to be Loki, because then he would be Loki for a change. But no, they had to have this diversity hired lady do that instead. They couldn't even give us the fun thing that I played at the beginning because it would have been funny. That would have been actually funny. But they tried so many funny things here, and then none of it landed.
I thought it
Then
was cool. The passing from one person to the next. I like
Yeah.
that.
No,
I
that's a
didn't
cool trick.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was a cool trick. But what I had a problem with is why couldn't Loki do that like from the very beginning?
Mhm.
Because doesn't he have that power? If it's Loki, then Loki should have been able to do that. But in the first episode, Loki got beaten the shit out of by this diversity hired lady, because he wasn't expecting it or whatever. Like whatever excuse you want to put it on, he got hit with that time stick, so he couldn't use his magic. And then they put that collar on him and they took him, right? In this instance, he has all his magic. He can't do this, so but he has
He's not doing it. He's not using his powers.
he's not doing
He has
anything.
nothing to. Yeah. He brings nothing to counter this disadvantage from another Loki. Yeah, it's silly.
He's not doing anything, and
And what
neither
is
is
the
the other
point?
Loki. The other Loki's really not doing anything either because he's just, she's
Stalling.
just jumping from one body to the other, who is human. It's not like it's not like she jumped into the Hulk and beat the shit out of Loki. It was more like a human being.
And the
Who
Hulk
sh-
got quite lucky with that because basically Loki was underestimating him and didn't realize the Hulk could just grab him by the foot and smack him around like a rag doll for 30, 40 seconds.
Also, this dude came out of nowhere. Like where this place seems abandoned. And
Yeah,
then
they're
it's
all
like,
in the building shelter. Yeah.
She jumped into some random person that she finds around the building, which is also weird.
it makes no sense because these people just show up out of nowhere. It's
And
like,
she doesn't
okay.
need them. So I didn't understand. As cool as it was, I didn't understand why she needed to do it. She could just show up.
He used a vacuum cleaner, you guys, and he didn't use his magic. I was just like, what is happening? Like, it's like as if he didn't have any magic. Like, this is the
It's
kind
like
of
having a lightsaber and not turning it on.
Yeah.
exactly. This is the kind of fight you do when you don't have magic. Like, that's how I was like, okay, like you're gonna pick up whatever is around you and throw it at them and like whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't how a god would fight, even himself. Like, and the entire time he's trying to say, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. Well, how are you better than him or her if you are doing shit all? I don't understand. Comment on VHS for $2. Thank you so much. Says writing 101, who, what, when, where, and why. Thank you.
And
Okay,
how?
so Tina says she was still setting up the time thingies, but couldn't she talk with him while she was projecting into the other people and have them all set him up at once?
Yeah, and if anything, like you could have this scene play out like such, but at this moment where Nina has it paused, you could have an hour Loki appear magically behind that guy and put him in like a half Nelson or something, and then the Loki with the vacuum cleaner just vanish, and there you have like, oh, he was just distracting them to get into a better position or something of nature. Like, we have these. When a character has tools at their disposal, especially when it comes to like skills, they should be used, especially in a state of urgency, which is what this scene is. It's like they have a limited amount of time to find this Loki before the disaster hits. So why the fact that they're not using that is basically a contrivance to get to a specific ending artificially, so to speak.
Thank
point.
you, Orange Cat Reviews. This is what I have a problem with. And this is why I say this series is making the Avengers mean shit all. Because Loki gave them problems. Like when he was Loki and he had magic and whatever. And Orange Hat here says the problem with this fight is that mortals are able to actually hurt him. Why? That makes no sense. Avengers showed that Captain America barely even hurt him when hitting him. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah,
what's going on with this?
Well, what we learn in Thor 2 is that like the Asgardians are like an advanced form of mortals. They can die. They live very long lives, but they essentially can die. But when you measure them against a human, they are essentially gods. So yeah, like, but the thing is, you've got that situation kind of replayed here. Like Loki, still comparatively to this human that he's fighting with the vacuum cleaner, is a god. So he should not have any issues. And even though that human is possessed by the other Loki, we're not seeing any demonstration of powers that could be used to take advantage of the situation. So it's really just bad writing and bad understanding of the rules within the universe you're playing.
Blake said it's 2050. Maybe people are stronger then.
Yeah, it's all in the water now.
Yeah. It's
Oh
global
yeah,
warming.
the Fauci jab really gave everyone super strength, and
Oh my God. And you know what, Jay, this is exactly what this was leading up to. This was leading up to show that Lady Loki is stronger than everybody. Like, look at him. He's on the ground gasping for air. Like, this is
Makes no sense.
ridiculous. Like, this is so stupid.
yeah, tearing
Yeah, this
an
is
existing
dumb.
character down to make a new character stronger is not helpful to showcase a threat of that new character. You got to have that character lose while he's performing or she's performing at their best, and this is clearly not that case.
Exactly. And it weakens the villain.
And then she did something weird with like noise. And it was like, oh, it's Lady Loki. Because, like, you know, she repeated what he said over
It's
and
Lady
over again.
Karen.
That's a good face to make.
That was a good pause. But that's exactly what they did. They wanted to introduce Lady Loki, which, by the way, is missing one horn. I wonder if there's a story there. I did notice that because I was like, oh, she doesn't have like two horns. She has one. So yeah, that's what happened. Karen Loki showed up. She literally looks like Karen Loki. It's true. That's hilarious.
And she's kind of acting like it too, honestly.
Orange Hat Reviews also said, also, I don't think that the female is Loki. Different powers altogether. Loki never possessed others.
Well, he
isn't
did
that kind of what
possess.
you
He
isn't that kind of
possessed
what you
Hawkeye.
said though?
Well, with the help of the Infinity Stone, he possessed Hawkeye. So,
But isn't that what you said though, Script, before the stream started, that you don't think this is Lady Loki either? You think it's who did you say it was?
there's it's Enchantress, I think it is.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
Enchantress. I don't know who that is.
She's I think she's an Asgardian. She's definitely a mischievous character. I think she has the power to like with her voice to manipulate and have others enslaved to her will. She was featured in an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then vanished with Lady Sif, I think it was, for some reason.
She's credited as Sylvie. Who the hell is Sylvie?
In one of the foreign language translations, yeah.
I don't know who Sylvie is.
So maybe that's why she said don't call her Loki.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing where she was all like, "Ugh, don't call me that." I was like, "Why? What?"
So they could be wrong, thinking that she's a variant and she's something else entirely.
Like, you guys think that she's like some other person and then she's passing herself off as Loki? Because this is Loki's costume.
Kind of. I mean, I think she's some other person and she's doing stuff that falls in line with what Loki would do. And I think the TVA are just assuming that this is a Loki and working off of that presupposition.
Okay, so Sylvie is the second form of Enchantress. So you might be right. Script Doctor might be Enchantress, and this may not be Lady Loki at all. It's maybe an imposter.
Yeah.
Imposter Karen Loki.
And we still don't. I mean, I'm hoping in the next 4 episodes we find out why she's doing the things that she's doing. That would be nice.
Well, I mean, I was a little concerned when she showed up because I was like, okay, so like we're not going to see Tom Hiddleston anymore in his own series. But then again, he chose to go after her instead of waiting for, Owen Wilson.
Yep.
This happened. So Lady Loki blows up the timelines. These people freak out because they're like, oh my God. So then like all the variant weird, the timeline blew up. So there's all these different realities now. It branches out, which, I mean, that's what reality should look like to me. I think that that's the correct way. I'm totally with Loki on this, like this, or this Enchantress people. Blow it up, baby. blow it up because we need more timelines. That's bullshit that there's only one sacred timeline. It sounds very fascist to me personally.
Well, I mean, when you have the one sacred timeline and it's something that is predetermined as opposed to something that is dictated by the free will of the people in that universe, that's where you have the issues.
When she said that she didn't want to rule, that's what that brought to mind to me. It was like her Khaleesi moment.
It was.
Oh,
Oh my god. That is so true. Oh my god. I don't know what to say. Lord Vader says next episode will be her backstory, most likely. Probably.
So is
I'm
she going to be
guessing.
successful? Is this going to work?
What do you mean? Yeah, I mean it worked. They're freaking out. Look at them. They're like, oh yeah,
everything's
this
almost at
chick's
the
like,
red line. Yeah.
this chick's like, oh my god, I'm gonna pick up my weird little dagger and
No,
get
I think
out
that's
of
just
here.
an integration stick. Yeah.
So she's going to have to
pause
do it
it
herself,
Oh, that was her time stick.
Yeah, and she was apparently a 20 something, 20. What is that? 3, 29, 20. She used to be one of the.
Oh yeah. There's her helmet.
Yeah.
She used to be a grunt.
So
look,
there's promotions in this world.
She has a San Diego
Which
thing
doesn't
here
make
too.
any. Why are there promotions when they created them all?
I
Like
know,
when you
right?
create them in their position.
This
Yep.
face is funny though. She's like,
Again,
oh my god.
I don't like front-loaded exposition and stories, but they could definitely have dished out a little bit more of infrastructure information through this instead of having that scene at the cafeteria where they just could have merged that in with the actual one in Pompeii, and then there you have 4 minutes where you can kind of explore the chain of command a little more.
The chain of command makes no sense, script doctor. That's the point. They don't know what the they're doing. This is all very stupid. The rhythm stick. Oh my god.
I just don't know what she plans to do with it. I mean, you one single person, you're gonna jump into it and just. I don't. What is her plan?
Maybe she's like, I'm so good at this that I became a judge. I have to get back to the streets like T.J. Hooker, that show, and do some job.
That's hilarious. I thought you meant Lady Loki. Like, what is her purpose? I was like, well, she clearly just wanted to, destroy the timelines, and I would too because I feel like F this shit.
No, I think that's what it is. I think she and Loki and something that we as an audience can agree on is that there's too much power by these three beings, and they're so secretive, they're so arrogant that they should not be in charge of such a thing. So what better thing to do than to restore the natural order of things, which is that there should be multiple universes, because that's how it started out. It started out with multiple universes. These three said, not good enough, put it into one, and that would be considered a manipulation of nature. So what we see here is a plot, hopefully, of these two people trying to restore what is the natural order of things.
But if she's done that, let's say she's succeeded. It's done. Okay, so what's the rest of the season going to be about?
Well, I mean, you'd have a sense of urgency, which is the TVA doing everything in their power to maintain, stabilize, and correct this issue, and possibly able to gain some ground in that nature. And so it's up to Loki and this other character to prevent them from doing that, perhaps?
No, they're going after the lizards because that's why the other lady was all, I gave away the location. So this chick tortured him or her, sorry, to get that information out. So that's their plan. Her plan is to go
face down
for
the lizards and face the lizards and get an explanation and remove them from power.
The final reveal will be they're all being Lokis.
Yeah,
they're all Lokis, or guessing, they never existed, and it's all just.
It's gonna be Lokis.
Yeah, it's Lokis, or they never existed, and it's all just a facade that the TVA themselves created these three beings that don't exist in order to maintain their own control and their own.
Like an AI,
like the time clock thing.
Maybe not even like an AI, but like they just don't exist at all, and that the one timeline they have is something that they're all doing is all their actions. Culminating together to make it one.
So it's
So
just a
it's like,
mythology.
yeah,
So
like it's just a fictional. It's like in Equilibrium, you have the fake president of the world. He's not really there. It's just pre-recorded things, but there's a
Mhm.
whole council of people operating behind the scenes to maintain the order. So that could possibly be the TBAs. It's just all these people are doing things to maintain the order under the false premise that yes, there are 3 time lizards that are actually dictating the timeline, when it's not really the case. It's just all these people in higher power spread across many different departments doing it all on their own whim, and everybody underneath them is like just buying into the lie and perpetuating it.
someone said smashing the patriarchy.
We don't know
That
the
is
gender of these
that is
time
also
lizards.
that's what's happening in this show though. There's a lot of takedown of men and trying to build up women by taking men down.
But there's a lot of women in positions of authority within this institution.
They're
So
incompetent.
how is it smashing the patriarchy if it's not smashing the matriarchy?
What do you mean? They're not.
Well, the judge is a
They're all
woman.
below. The men are all below the women.
Yeah, so that makes it a matriarchy.
Yeah, it is a matriarchy. You're
So
right.
how is the show able to smash the patriarchy when the characters in power are female?
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think the writers really understand that if that's their
No.
method that they're going for.
You're right. And this scene was interesting to me
I love that scene. This was a great scene.
because he was thinking about staying for Owen,
Yeah.
but then he was
He was
like,
given a choice, and we got to see a good one.
and he made his choice, which I mean, I would have obviously made that same choice. Like, dude, go after Lady Loki because even if it's not Loki, like she's impostering you and impersonating you, and
And how dare she try to get the power he wants?
yeah, and she's going after the lizards. So I would go after the lizards.
That's where I was going with it. I was thinking more of she has a plan that seems to be working to destroy these things. So I'm going to side with her.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I don't think he realizes exactly what happened yet, like with the lines, like because he saw the bombs go, whatever, but he hasn't seen like the branches or whatever, so he doesn't know what exactly happened. I don't think. So he made a decision to go after her, which was correct. So this is the part that I was kind of like concerned about, because when they introduced her, I was like, oh, are they going to make it so that now like she is going to be Loki now and we're not even going to see Tom Hiddleston in his own show? And then he went after her. So now I'm like, okay, so if he's gone after her, that means they're going to be in the same episode at the same time, because he's probably going to look for her, or like, I don't know, whatever, like
Partner up.
Yeah, or partner up, or I mean, I'm assuming, unless the entire episode next week is going to be her backstory, like somebody else suggested
Like a
in the chat.
flashback, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably one episode will have to be probably.
Which would mean that, we're not going to see Tom Hiddleston for at least one episode.
Or they'll do that horrible thing they did in WandaVision where they just take it from her perspective from the start of the story, and then it ends with them meeting up at the shopping mall and then jumping into the
right
thing, which that also bugs me because it's rarely is it done well.
And there was no end credit scene. So yeah, so that was it. That was episode 2. Final thoughts, Jayne.
Okay, so yeah. I think, as I said before, I think this episode was better than the last one. We had still far too much exposition, and when you dive deep into the logic of it, as the continuity, even within the episode or within the show, things start to fall apart and just unravel. But there were things, there were elements, there were scenes that I enjoyed. I do want to see more of Loki using his power.
Me too.
Especially now, like this would be the time. I did like the transitions and some of the magical elements. I think that's what we watch Loki for. So if he is with this other Loki or chasing her down or whatever they're doing, I want to see that on display. Other than that, though, yeah, there were some things that just didn't quite make sense, and the writing is all over the place, but it's better than the last one.
I thought it was better. I thought it was a little bit better than the last one too, but not by much. And the fact that so far they've been doing kind of like what everybody's said, like, oh, Lady Loki is gonna be here, which apparently is not Lady Loki
Mhm.
now. It's Sylvie. So here's 300 mirrors. Thank you. Tagged me on this this post saying Loki. It's not Lady Loki, guys. Look at these credits for her other language version. It's Sylvie, also known as Enchantress. So, okay, so maybe it's not Loki, maybe it's Enchantress. But I guess we'll find out. And then Shane G sent a $5 super sticker. It's a little Bravo doggy. Yay, you guys! We're getting applause from the doggy. Thanks, Shane. Robot Shlomo, hey Rob, says you're not going to see Loki using his powers because phase 4 is going to be all about feelings in hallways.
No more
Probably.
crying. No
It's
more
cheaper to
crying.
film.
That's what this whole episode was, and he was crying while he was looking at that whole thing. Like, this is what I didn't even understand about like that whole fight scene either, was like when he turned into a total little bitch, because I was like, dude, this guy's brother is Thor. Like, he's had fights with Thor for God knows how long. Like, you know, it's he can take on Thor. Like, and then he's getting his ass beat by some, you know, rando
by
dude.
by a stock boy.
Yeah, by a
Right.
stock boy. Like, what is this? It was just dumb.
Don't get me
Like,
wrong. I'm pretty sure there's some stock boys out there that, you know, hit the gym, but again, it's
Well-
it's stock boy to God, essentially.
yeah, exactly.
it
Stock
could've
boy to
been-
God.
It could have been better if when the human whatever was hitting him, if we saw green light sort of envelop the arm of the person to show
So it's
that
like
there
a
was some
magic
sort of
punch, yeah.
exactly.
But no, we didn't, because I think that in the entire thing was like she uses her entire power just to possess them. So I don't think she gives them like super strength or anything. Well, at least that's not what I figured.
It's like if that's what they wanted to convey, they should have shown it. I think.
But also, if you wanted, like, let's say superpowers, or like, let's say you wanted to be stronger or whatever, why not continue possessing one of those time ladies, or like, you know, like that time diversity lady who's pretty big and thick and she's got that time stick. So like, wouldn't you just possess her? And
I think she was trying to show. Well, I think it was just for the show, but I think she was trying to show that she can jump from person to person. Like,
yeah, but wouldn't you go
that
back to the
display-
strongest person though? That's what I'm saying. And she had a time stick. Like,
I think the
wouldn't
guy
you-
was the strongest person, the big one.
The guy with the vacuum.
Yeah.
you think
And
the
then he hit her
guy
with a
with the vacuum was stronger than diversity lady with time stick?
He would have to be because he's a guy.
Oh,
that's real world
Jayne.
logic.
Jayne, cancel Jayne, you guys. She just said men are stronger than women.
Yeah.
Well, big
Oh my
men are
goodness.
stronger than some big women, I guess would be the more.
But she had a time stick. She poked him with that in the first episode, and he was all like, you know, his face went all weird, and then they put that collar on him, and
I don't think she wanted to like incapacitate him. I think she just wanted to, as she said, waste time, like use him as a distraction or to distract him. So knocking him out would have defeated the purpose of that. She wanted to keep him moving and keep him talking.
That's true. That's true. Well, final thoughts, script doctor.
I liked some of the concepts that were presented this episode. I like the idea that even though the rules aren't defined, if you were to go to an apocalyptic event, you could do whatever you want and not alter the timeline, which I think is a clever idea, just not really executed well. Disappointed that there wasn't a battle of wits with powers between Loki and this other thing. And also this is an episode that could have been told in half the time.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
Was drawn out far too much.
I
Yeah,
agree.
it's, and the other part too is like yes, okay, so the timeline is splitting in all this variations. So can the TVA go back to before that first initial split and stop it, or reset from there? And who knows? Like, there's a lot of questions that have yet to be answered. And
Wouldn't they have to go back to this moment before she sets the bomb so that they can stop her from setting the bomb now that they know what she was doing?
well, apparently the bombs are dispersed throughout various points in time, but there's only so many of them. So all you have to do, if you can see the entire timeline, is go back to before that first bomb hit and be like, reset everything from there onward.
That's what I'm saying. So this
yeah.
moment, it would be this moment of them fighting in the thing, because that's when she, like,
Well,
you know,
no, because
activated the bomb.
she sent stuff, time bombs in the past of that moment as well. So you just have to go back to the furthest past of when that first time bomb was set and do a full reset, so that everything, so millions of years of the present, would be erased and then reset, so to speak. So, like, if you were to pull up that thread and see all the time variance going off, if, say, speculatively in the middle of that thread is the present, where female Loki, for lack of a better term, sent all those reset bombs into the past. From there, you really couldn't go back any further and stop that, because the ones in the past are now in the past. So you have to go further back into the past, kind of like the Doc Brown thing in Back to the Future 2. You can't go back to you can't go back to the future in 2015 to grab the almanac and not get Biff to do it. You have to go back to 1955 before he got the opportunity to use that first almanac. So that would be the methodology of time travel.
We also have Lord Vader here saying the multiverse is gonna end up in chaos, since the title of the next Doctor Strange film in DS is the Multiverse of Madness. That's also true. So
I don't think anyone would be surprised by that.
yeah, I think that's probably, well, I mean, that's where they're headed, right? Because I mean, I don't. We only have like 4 episodes left, so I don't think they're gonna fix this. So I guess this is the I don't think they can either. So I guess this is the multiverse of madness that's gonna happen. Like,
Is this the birth
know.
of it? Maybe.
Yeah, it's basically like a tangential story for the setup of that movie.
Right. And apparently this season I remember Tina was saying, or somebody was saying last week, that this season, this series has already been renewed for a second season, unlike WandaVision and the other one. So this season, Loki is supposed to get a second season as well, which would come from, that would be way after Doctor Strange comes out and everything like that, right? So
yeah, I wonder where they're going to go with that.
Yeah, that's all very interesting. Somebody just shared something else with me. Let me just quickly. I haven't even read it. Somebody just tagged me on this. Loki's latest episode revealed Loki's plan to overthrow the Timekeepers. One that would offer some resemblance to the Asgard takeover at the end of Thor: The Dark World. Does this sound familiar to anyone? What is this talking about?
What?
Let me see here.
The actions in this episode reflect what Loki tried to do to rule Asgard and Thor: The Dark World.
Callback?
Ever since Loki premiered, many viewers have called into action or the question the god of mischief's true agenda, as they refuse to believe that he would truly choose to work with the TVA unless he was playing a game of his own, which I think everybody pretty much thinks so.
Yeah, like duh.
Duh. Yeah. While Loki's true master plan wasn't expected to be revealed until later in the series, this week's episode has seemingly revealed the titular variant's true agenda and potentially his motivations behind it. In the Loki
weren't
variant,
his motivations thrown out just now? Like, isn't that sort of because if she destroys everything?
Yeah, it's power and to rule. That's his motivation.
But there's nothing to rule if she destroys it all, right?
Well, I guess you could pick your own multiverse.
Or there's all these things yet to rule, like, you know, all these different variant timelines now, and, you know, maybe like you would want to stop the time people from correcting it so that you can rule as many timelines as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's what I would do if I was Loki. So like overthrow the blah blah blah. They have the conversation here. I'm going to overthrow the timekeepers and the cards on table. I could use qualified lieutenant. I don't, like see that's the thing too is when he was having this discussion with her, did it seem legit to you guys? I almost feel like it wasn't legit. Like it almost felt kind of like he was just making shit up to keep her talking, or like I don't know if that's
It was like an
that was
investigation, actually, I felt.
yeah. Like, I don't know if that was his plan. It felt like he was just making shit up. I don't know if that's how you guys felt about it too or not.
I kind of would hope that that's the case, but I'm not sure that they thought it through, the writers. Like I think that would be a good version of the story, but that may not be what we got.
I don't think so. The reveal of Loki's villainous intentions is teased throughout the episode. Mobius seemingly deduces his plan to charm your way in front of the timekeepers, hustle them, and seize control of the TVA. I mean, that would be the simplified version, right? This comes in a moment of anger. Loki begins to brag about his genius, revealing 10 steps ahead of him and has been playing the game of his own all along. And Loki is blah, 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 says all this bullshit about Mobius. Loki's mischievous scheme of attempting to overthrow the timekeepers to take control of the TVA strongly resembles his seizing of the throne of Asgard at the tail end of Thor, The Dark World. While Thor's sequel saw the god of mischief use his magical abilities to remove Odin from his throne for the 4 years before his death, Loki instead relying on his charm to embed himself in the TVA and Disney Plus's show. Okay, that's interesting. The god of mischief has always had a desire for power, but in an earlier conversation with Mobius in the TVA cafeteria indicates that may not be his only goal in ruling TVA. Loki has always pursued chaos over order, and with the discovery that the timekeepers dictate every event in history, he realizes there's no such thing as free will. So those at the TVA are only ones that are actually free. So he does realize these things, blah, blah, blah. However, Loki's conflict with the female variant of himself certainly calls into question whether his intentions are truly villainous. While he claims to be working for himself, he quickly casts doubt on his saying, you really believe that, don't you?
I wouldn't think that he was villainous at all. Like
I didn't think so either.
It's what they just described, if true, is his desire to be free. That's not a villainous pursuit.
No,
it isn't.
But the only way you could make that villainous is that he decides to be free while everyone else is not.
Right.
I suppose.
So
but
Loki is not a hero.
That's not yet attained or established with Loki at this point.
But Loki's never been a hero. He's been an anti-hero the entire time.
Well, he's more of an antagonist.
Yeah, an anti-hero. I mean, until he had that, what's it called? Like redemption.
Which was in Ragnarok, yeah.
No. Was it in Ragnarok?
Yeah, that's where his character changed, and then he dies in Infinity War.
Yeah, when he died in Infinity War, his redemption.
No, his redemption happened before that. His final act to prove that he is on that good side was in Infinity War.
I see.
Because like in Ragnarok, what was established is that Thor finally, after all these thousands of years, has learned enough of Loki's tricks where Loki realizes that, he's got to turn over a new leaf at the very least.
Right. I don't know. Well,
Shane said Loki's plan is the same as all his other plans. Didn't see that coming. Right?
Yep. He just wants to be at the top of the food chain.
Oh my god. Rob says, I still say Loki is what happens when you have people who are writing something who have contempt for the material and contempt for the audience. I don't know if
I don't know
it's
if
so
that's the
much
case
like
here.
that.
I don't
I
know if
think
that's
it's
the
just
case
incompetence, really.
That's what I
Exactly.
think too.
Just more incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
think
we
it's
still have a few more episodes before we can confirm it's contempt.
yeah. They haven't come right out and say it yet. I don't know. I just feel like they're just very incompetent as well. I don't. It's like, have you sat down and watched your own movies or read any comics? I don't have to because I'm a normie. I can just coast. But if you're like making a show, I don't know. I feel like maybe it should be part of your job to read the source material.
But it's not even
They have
entertaining to
access to it.
you. And it should be it should be clear enough for a normie to get it though.
Oh yeah.
And
Mhm.
to enjoy it. And they're just I don't understand what's happening. We have fewer episodes. You think they would be more substantive, and
Uh,
yet they feel like filler.
They do feel like filler. I feel like this entire season's a filler though. This
Yeah.
seems like this is like a filler to Doctor Strange. They're like, don't worry, we're gonna make Doctor Strange and it's gonna be a multiverse of madness. And yes, there's a multiverse, but just
You know what? I think
first
that's
this
it.
first
that's
this
it.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Rob's actually quite right in here. They definitely think they're smarter than they actually are, and they have contempt for the audience because they think that the audience is not going to be as smart as them.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
agree.
one of the things. Like I've mentioned this in my videos, I've mentioned this in other streams. Writers can only write as smart as they are themselves. So if you want to be smarter than your audience, you got to do the work first. And clearly, the writers of this show have not been doing the work.
300 Mirrors says all of these Marvel shows feel like fillers. That's I feel like that too. I mean, WandaVision felt like a filler. It didn't at first. Like when I first started watching it, I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And then by the end of it, it felt like a filler. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I've basically almost forgotten now because it was so not memorable.
I still haven't figured out what the Flag Smashers' goal were. Like,
I
I
don't.
can't remember.
I
Like
don't know.
they were killing people. They wanted to stop some sort of council thing.
They wanted to kill everyone because they were mean to them. They were meansies.
Like if were they going to try and re-eliminate half the world's population? Like I don't understand their. You need a very clear goal.
Yeah, they didn't show, and that was my complaint about the show is that they didn't show us the displacement or whatever was happening, post return that upset them so much. Like we never we heard them talking about it, but we never actually saw it, and so there was no emotional impact to this revolution they were trying to lead.
Yeah, we barely even got a taste of that with Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, where she comes back to work and it's like, well, she's got a new boss now, and it's like, okay, are we going to play that out? Nope, she's just going to go right back into the swing of things, and it's like, seriously, yeah.
E. Clay, thank you so much for the pooper sticker. I'm sure that's about Loki, not about this amazing stream that we've just completed, basically. And also, Rob, I agree with you. When all else fails, they go back to the because reasons. That's how I felt about that whole dialogue with the free will thing when he was like, "You're oversimplifying it," because I was like, basically because reasons.
The writers have admitted they do not have an answer for that very question.
Yeah,
and I think you have a point too about these shows, and they could have been so good, but they are writing them as setup for their films. And when you do that, I mean, I think you water it down, you weaken it a little bit because
Well, you
then
do. I mean, it's the same thing when writing an ongoing story of feature films. You have to make sure that each individual film can stand on its own in case that is the first one the audience will see. It goes back to the quote, like Stan Lee said, and other comic book creators have said, like, sometimes any comic that's off the shelf will be someone's first. So you got to make sure you get all the necessary needed information across so that they can, go either back to catch up on the stories or just continue from that point on and not really miss a beat. And yeah, that's one of the faults with regards to what Marvel's doing. Like that, the premise of having television shows of their characters and their own individual stories that can lead up to an event film is actually a very good one. The problem is that they're not treating it as such. They're basically saying, no, this is all a setup for that event film, as opposed to, no, this should be a self-contained story that can stand on its own, and the resulting byproduct of that story should be able to lead into a tentpole film, but does not necessarily have to be the case, so to speak.
Right.
And Orange Hat is right. The Flag Smashers wanted the world to go back to the way things were before the revival event. Jayne and I, we basically did what we're doing here with Loki. We broke down that entire series, and I've already forgotten it, even though I spent how many hours talking about it. That's
Probably
how
six.
memorable that show was. That's how memorable it was, because I forgot about that. So
Well,
yeah.
here's the other question: is like, how in the heck could the Flag Mashers achieve that goal unless they first figure out who vanished, and then go to each single person's home or address and then kill them one by one, which would take, if you're dealing with a loss of 4 billion people, it would take more than they have life to live in order to achieve that.
It was just so weird too, the tech. When you go back and look, well, not to get too deep into it, but we were shown later in the season the technology that they had in their organizational structure, and all of that would have come in handy earlier in the series, but we never quite saw the effectiveness of it. It was just, and then the fact that their leader was essentially a child. It's just.
I remember WandaVision more than the other one.
I
Falcon
keep
and the
forgetting
Winter
the
Soldier.
name of WandaVision.
What do you mean? It's called WandaVision.
I know, but I keep forgetting. When you say it, I remember it. But before that, I'm just like that show. That was
Oh my god!
Old episodes and stuff.
I'm like, you just said the name. It's called WandaVision. Anyways, it was a great discussion, you guys. I can't wait to pick it up next week. Theories for next week? Anyone? You wanna? Jayne? Theories?
I just don't. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what they
Jayne,
can do.
your last name's Theory. You have to have a theory.
I don't have. My theory is that they've destroyed the TVA, and now the two of them are going to fight it out to see who rules.
Oh,
Whatever's
there can
left.
only be one.
There can only be
Loki.
one.
Oh my god. Okay. Script Doctor, theories?
A few. I'm pretty sure this next episode is going to be a Lady Loki dominant one, and I think it might be revealed that she's not actually Loki.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you think we're gonna get a song? It was Sylvia all along.
I hope not. Part of me is wondering if they'll try to make these two have type of a king and queen relationship if they do manage to achieve their power goal. I don't know. There's definitely going to be some sort of conflict here.
Oh my god!
I would not have a problem with that, except they will never do that. I think that would be too traditional a relationship for them to be able to pull it off.
Well, unless Loki's the queen.
Well,
oh my god. True. Shane says Loki cries. That's a given.
Another crying scene.
You guys think it's gonna happen? Can we take bets?
Oh my god.
Is Tom Hiddleston gonna cry again in this episode? Oh my god, that's hilarious. I agree with you though, Script. I think that's gonna be a Lady Loki heavy episode, which it's gonna end up being like, oh my god, surprise, she's not Loki, and like, I don't know, maybe they'll. I think it's gonna be about her her history or whatever, like her backstory and whatever. I think we're gonna see Loki cry again. I do.
If he cries, I hope it's because he found the story boring.
Maybe we'll see Owen Wilson cry this time because he lost Loki, and then that black lady's gonna make him cry.
Will he die?
So,
or will he make it?
I think for your next show, Nina, you should take the Mobius that you have in the top right corner and just replace it with Owen Wilson's head.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So I think there's gonna be some tears. Owen Wilson will probably cry because he's gonna be punished. That's it. That's all I got.
He'll be punished.
He's gonna be spanked. Oh, that's nice, Cavatinho.
That's more girl
that's
talk. That's not usually shared with men, from my experience with women.
wow.
You have to get to a certain point with a girl or a woman before they start volunteering that information with you.
Oh my God, what a gong show. Okay, so then let's get into outros then. Jayne, tell everyone where they
Yes.
can find you.
You can find me here on YouTube, where I post movie and television reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. I just dropped a reaction and review of the new Picard Season 2 trailer, so definitely check that out. You can also follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jayne Theory.
Yay, Jayne! Her Twitter and her YouTube are in the description down below. Please check that out. And Script Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a blast doing this. I feel very honored to participate in this conversation with you two lovely ladies. You can find my content on youtube.com/scriptdoctor, where I have analyzed television and film. And also my Twitter at scriptdoctorphd, where I did put out a Father's Day gift to everyone out there. A little image, a little excerpt from a script I wrote that will unfortunately never be made, but I figured everybody would really like that. So go onto my Twitter timeline and scroll down not too far, because you'll see the hashtag Father's Day thing and the cool little image that I had commissioned for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, thank you again for having me today.
Of course. It was lovely to hang out with you. And if you have the time next week, you're welcome back. If you want to chat about Loki again, you're more than welcome to join us again.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yes.
All right, cool. Okay, so Jayne, you got nothing coming up, like the streams or anything?
Nah, not really.
Okay.
Just follow me, you'll see.
Jayne, you can catch here again on Sunday next week. As for me, you can catch me on my channel every Friday for good news. And also this Wednesday, I think we're doing Infinite Talk on John's channel, but we don't know yet. But yeah, so Infinite Talk Wednesdays, Fridays, Infinite Hope, and maybe Queen's Council Thursdays. I don't know what's going on with that anymore. Everybody, have a great rest of your evening. Happy Father's Day to you all. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next Sunday for a Loki discussion, episode 3. We're going to close it out with this amazing commercial. Good night.
Hey. Morning. I finished early, so I thought I'd pop back and make you breakfast. Pepper on top, right? Oh, 还有你的香椿. You look great. Probably be a bit busy for the next few weeks. But I'll make it up to you soon, I promise.